Welcome to Science Lab with Mrs. Keener. Hi everyone, it's time for another chemistry experiment. Yay! Today we're going to find out what happens to mass when it freezes. Does the amount of mass there change? Is there going to be more or less after freezing? Let's do the experiment and find out. In order to figure out how much mass there is, you need to use a balance. You need to weigh it. We're going to make our own balance using things we have around the house. Get a ruler and some sort of can. Put the can sideways on its side. It's going to roll around. So put two other things. They could be cans or other items. Anything that will hold your main can in place and prevent it from rolling back and forth. Take your ruler and put it on top of the can. Try to balance it. And now we have a balance. We can weigh things. We can compare the masses. You're going to need two small lids that are exactly the same, or two small cups that are exactly the same. Check them on your balance to make sure that they weigh the same. They have the same mass. I'm going to use two small lids because I think it's easier for me to show you what's going on. Put them on the balance, compare the two. Next, add a tablespoon of water to each. Try to get the exact same amount of water into each lid. Check them on your balance. Make sure they have the same mass, that they weigh the same. They might be a tiny, tiny bit different, but they're pretty close. Close enough. So now we have the same amount of water in each lid. Put one in the freezer. Try not to spill it. Wait 5 minutes. Check it to see if it's frozen. It might not be frozen yet, so give it another 5 minutes. Keep checking it until it's frozen. It doesn't need to be completely frozen, it just needs to be partly frozen. This is going to take some time, probably about 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. So in the meantime, let's do another experiment. For this experiment, you'll need to put some ice cubes in a glass and fill them all the way up so the glass is mostly filled with ice cubes. And try to get the top ice cube so that it's kind of level on top. Add some water so that the water level comes up very close to the top surface of the top ice cube. We're going to see if we can lift the ice cube using a string or shoelace. We're going to need to add a little bit of salt though, because we need to melt the ice a little bit and then refreeze it. So sprinkle a little bit of salt onto the top ice cube. When you add salt to ice, it lowers the freezing temperature a little bit, so it's going to melt it a little bit. Then take a shoelace or piece of yarn or some other kind of thin thing that's a little bit fuzzy and put it down on top of the top ice cube and press it down. Can you lift the ice cube now? If you melt the ice a little bit with the salt and then it refreezes, you might be able to lift the top ice cube. And if you're lucky, the other ice cubes will be melted and refrozen a little bit because of the cold water, and you might be able to lift a whole bunch of ice cubes. This is pretty challenging. If it doesn't work, dump out the water, try again. Okay, let's check on our first experiment. My water is mostly frozen. Let's compare the frozen water to the water that didn't freeze. Do you think that there will be more mass? Will it be heavier? Let's put it on the balance and compare. I found that they still weighed the same. There's the same amount of mass. That makes sense. We didn't add anything or take anything away. We just changed the temperature. So the matter may have rearranged. The little particles of water may have rearranged. We now have ice instead of water, but we have the same number of particles. It's the same amount of mass. It should weigh the same. This is called conservation of mass. The amount of mass stays the same. Mass doesn't just vanish or disappear. If you have some mass, it stays the same unless you take some away. Please share pictures or video of your experiment and show me what you noticed.